So I'm going to assume you're seeing the deck. And so you remember from the last time we got together, the part one, we kind of talked about if you're transitioning from InfoPath and you're thinking about using PowerApps, what are the opportunities that you have available to you? So basically, we talked about three big opportunities. We talked about optimizing customer experiences. We talked about optimizing integrations, and we talked about optimizing mobile access. So when we continue on this line of thought, I want to actually jump right into the product, and let's look at some of the opportunities that we have in these areas. So I'm going to bounce over to SharePoint here. Okay, I'm going to go into SharePoint. I gotta share. Okay, sorry. Then we'll just stop sharing. And then I'm going to quickly go over to my website in SharePoint, and then I'll share again. Okay. I am going to wait for it to catch up. Give it a second. So sorry, this is taking a little bit of time. I'm gonna go. So now we're in the planning team site, and I had put together a list, and I've been working on an app for a while now on this list, trying to figure out, what kind of apps I might want to do in PowerApps versus in this new form, customized forms option. And those of you that haven't seen it before, we've released a brand new customized forms option, which means you can customize your list forms right there in the SharePoint list. So if you notice, when I do a selection here on cost, I can select any of these and can hit edit. And this form that you see on the right here has been customized using PowerApps, but it's fully integrated into SharePoint so that we can make changes to it and it will occur right there in the SharePoint list. The other advantage of doing this is not only is it integrated into the panel, but up at the top, it gives you the opportunity to copy a link and actually embed that link into a page, or use that link to give people direct access to that item using just the link. So that's another way of showing your form if you want to do it outside of the list. And as you know, we're soon going to have all our apps able to have their own widget in SharePoint so that you can actually put widgets or web parts right on the page with your app inside of it. And so these are all different ways of using the forms directly in SharePoint, fully integrated into SharePoint. And you notice it works just like it works, in SharePoint. It's a full integration, and I love it. I'm amazed with how easy it is now to customize a form. And just to kind of go back to the list for a second to show you kind of what some of the customizations I did are. I'm just going to back up here for a second, cancel out of this, and just give you a view of where this happens. And so it's very similar to what happens in InfoPath. When you customize forms in SharePoint, if you look at your list settings, you'll be able to tell that the form was modified in PowerApps, because in the list settings and the form settings, you'll see that it is currently selecting use a custom form created in PowerApps. And it also would tell you if you had used an InfoPath form. So let me just check here. Yes, so somebody asked the question, is this available? This is rolling out right now. And so as it rolls out, you will get it in your environment depending on how that rollout schedule is, which I don't have with you right now. Some of you will have it and some of you may not have it yet, but it is definitely rolling out. So you'll just be able to see that over time. Ping me if like in 2 weeks you still don't see it. Just kind of send me an email, let me know, and I'll find out if there's a problem. But for the most part, within the next 2 weeks, you should be seeing everything I'm showing you right now. So this is where also, if you wanted to revert back to SharePoint, you could. You would just click on use the default SharePoint form, and that would revert you back. Now, when you do that, which I'm not going to do right now because I have a couple of things I want to show you first, you also get the option to keep that Power App form, or as you can see here below that, to delete that form. And so this is like, I always like to show people rollback, because you'll get started and you'll be going along and you'll realize, oh, I want to go back to the beginning. And this is how easy it is. So very similar to how I used to do this using InfoPath. So I'm just going to click OK and go back to my list. And in my list here, I'm going to just, again, do my edit. So I'm going to zoom out a bit so I'm not too zoomed in. And then I'm just going to do edit here again and kind of point out some of the opportunities that I took here. Because you remember our targets. We want to optimize the customer experience. We want to be able to give them information that's contextual. We want to make it easy for them to use. We want to help the experience to be better. So in this case, this is a change order list. And what it's doing is you can imagine a bunch of contractors and they're working for a project. And sometimes things get changed, you know, either they have to change their materials or they have to change the scope of work. And that's going to either have a cost or a schedule impact. So in this particular case, what's happening is we're tracking all of our requests for change, whether they be a cost change or a schedule change. So in this particular case, the resident engineer is going to use this form in order to mark these approved or not, okay? And so what I thought would be helpful to them is one of the things that I put on the form would be, how about look at the Power BI dashboard at this current moment. What's the frequency of contractors asking for change? And so you'd imagine if even if they had 5 contractors, they could take a glance up at the PBI dashboard tile and see, okay, contractor A, contractor B, which is the case right here, hasn't asked for so many changes, so I don't really have a red flag. But if that contractor B had been asking for a lot of change and their bar chart was like way above the other bar charts, I might take a little bit of time and read this, you know, even more carefully. So it's about giving the business a little bit of extra loving care as far as the context around what they're doing. And in this case, it does matter if contractors are putting in a lot of change, and they want to be alerted to that at least. And then it kind of can help them make a decision. It's not a deciding factor, but it can help them make a decision. Also, the other thing that I wanted to point out is that you can integrate your forms with workflow. So in this particular case, when they click on the status and they choose approved, right? What's happening here is this is just a little rectangle pops up with a label inside and basically says, hey, this has a cost impact. So if this is approved, the contract value will be changed by $23,040, which will change that contract value to $244,120. So what's happening here is we're doing a lookup to the list that's also in SharePoint, and it could be on a whole different SharePoint site, where it's going to look up what is the current value of the contract for this contractor. And so if I approve the amount of money that is in this change order, I know in advance what that impact is going to be to the contract. So it's my way of kind of going back and checking that, you know, we're not going way over budget, you know. And so I figure, why not give them that level of information right there in the form? And I'm just going to cancel out of this. And I just want to show you that once you have approved an item, so I'm going to open up one that is approved here and hit edit. Once you've approved it, the form also doesn't allow for that status field to be changed. So in some cases, you may want to decide, okay, certain fields can still be changed after approval and certain fields cannot. And all of that is up to you. And this kind of helps the user experience because the resident engineer right away can see, okay, I'm done with this change and now I can move on and do something else, because and he doesn't make a mistake and do something he shouldn't do, because you kind of think ahead as what you don't want to let them do, right? Another thing that is going on in this form is that if we look at the cost here again, where it hasn't been approved, and we choose, you notice that this form kind of ends at scheduled days impacted, which I could always hide if this was a cost impact. But I'm going to go in here and change this to approved with comments. And of course, because I picked approved with comments, now the comments field is available to me. So you can give people information, just what they need at the time that they're working. You don't have to give them all the information at once. And so that kind of, I would say, conditional show and hide of fields is also really easy to do and makes your form a lot more user friendly. So let's look at the back end of this form real quick and kind of talk about what's going on. By the way, I want to do a webinar on how we can use this kind of scenario here also for forms to create some extra interesting reporting within our apps, not just the Power BI tiles, but some very interesting reporting where people can filter by contractor and things like that. That's planned from one of my next webinars. So I'm just going to let this load up so we can kind of see in the back end of this what's going on, and kind of talk about some of the things that are set in this app. And then if you have, Mehdi's watching the chat, if you have anything you'd like me to do today, feel free to drop that in the chat. And Mehdi, just let me know around 10:45. If they have some ideas, I'll save the last 15 minutes for that. Okay, so I'm just going to hide that little sharing thing and zoom in here to kind of see what's going on. So most of you may already know about the Power BI tile. Put in the chat if you don't know. Also, put in the chat if you don't know how to wire up Power BI to SharePoint. I don't mind showing you that today as well. A couple of people asked me that at Ignite, and so I was able to take the time to show them how to wire up their Power BI to SharePoint lists, and then how to just kind of adjust the data model so that it would work in a tile. So we're going to look at a couple things here. I'm going to actually just highlight the form on the screen. And when I highlight the form on the screen, it's now called SharePoint Form. Those of you that have been doing apps before, you might have noticed that in the past it was called Edit Form. And that still works for apps. But whenever you're doing a SharePoint customized form, it's actually called SharePoint Form. And so it kind of, right away that you're in SharePoint because of that. You also know because it says back to SharePoint up here. You also know that if you go to the file menu, it actually gives you a link back to the list. So you can't be lost that you're, where you are in SharePoint. It's obvious that you're working with a SharePoint integration. Now, in this form, if you notice, we've got a new panel over here. So in the past, when you selected your form, you would get the list of fields that would pop up right here. Don't worry, they're still available. Now we have it in this really cool wizard panel. So if I click over here and click change orders, which is the data, now you can see that wizard panel just kind of slides right out. And now you can still adjust your fields, add fields, remove fields, and so on. What I had done is set the column, snap to columns to 2, which gives me this 2-column look. But if I decide, that 2-column look should only be applicable to certain fields, like I did here with description, then what I can easily do is span columns. So I can just take my mouse and drag that out and span an entire column that way. Somebody at Ignite had asked me, well, what if I want to, leave some white space, and you notice that when it's spanned like this, it does leave white space here. But another thing you can do is you can always add into this form and, do some other customizations. Somebody had asked me, what if I wanted to have my cost here indicated with an icon? Of course, you can add those kind of things right into this data card like you've always been able to do, and you get that high value of image controls right away. So for instance, if I go in here and I, look at my media, I think the only media I have in here is I have a dialog box, which I don't think I'm using, but I'm going to upload a couple of icons for, let's upload a couple of icons just for fun so you can see how easy it is to use the icons. I'm going to double click on this, and then let's look at, let's go into this one, and I'm going to upload these two icons. One is a calendar and one is a $sign. So you get the idea of schedule and cost. And then I can go in here. They both start with C, by the way. I can go in here and I want to check that my card can be edited. So I'll unlock it, and then I can insert a media flag here, just an image right here, and size that to whatever I want it to be and put it wherever I want to put it. I love the flexibility of this new functionality. It's extremely flexible. So I'm going to make it calendar icon for right now. Now, what I'm going to do, though, is I'm going to configure this icon to have a different image based on what the impact type is, right? So, and that's really easy to do. So all I have to do is kind of look and see what this is. This is right here. This is data value 10, right? So it's really easy to do, and I'll show you the other way to do it as well. I'm just going to put a simple Excel if statement in here. If data card value 10.text equals cost, then it's the calendar, then it's the cost icon. Otherwise, it's the calendar icon. And let's see, this may be a drop down. Let's just do that. Selected value cost. Takes now. Just left out a paren, and that's why I'll show you what the value of using the other method is after I finish this formula. And now you see that the icon changed to cost. And so it depends on what that says. So I just want to show you how you save, and then we'll talk about other ways to do that. I'm just going to go in here and click back to SharePoint. As soon as I click back to SharePoint, you're going to see a save and publish message, and then you just click save and publish. While that's saving and going back to SharePoint, I will say that it's better to use one image icon and then like a condition like that, because the value of that is that you only have one control versus having two image icons, and then you have to maybe show one and not show the other, which is another way of doing that. But then that gives you more controls. And you want to have a best practice, you want to have as least amount of controls as possible. So I'll go ahead and edit that, and you'll notice that we've got the little calendar there for the schedule. And then if I don't do that one and I do this one, I've got the little cost icon there for that one. Now, I could also use those icons to set the value as well. And I'm not going to do that today, but I will give you some links on how to do that as well, because I have documented that. And I will also explain to you that this particular impact type field is a choice list. So when we use buttons or we use statements to update that field value, then we have to use a special formatting for submitting to a choice list, which I will also send you a great video that Laura Rogers did on that for the time being, but we plan to make that a whole lot easier in the future. So let's go back and look at this again. I want to continue showing you some other things in here and what you can do and some options you have. We'll just load that back up again. And each time I try something new, it's always exciting to see, basically each thing that I do, even though that formula that I just did, I made a couple of mistakes, but the whole thing took 30 seconds or so for me to make that change and add those images. But I did have to, in advance, kind of prepare 2 icons, right? I had to go find 2 icons that were legal to use, royalty-free images that I could use, and then I had them saved on the side, and then I imported them into the app. So you do a little bit of prep time you have to do on this, and I'm going to talk about that dialogue in 1 minute. I just want to keep going here on some other things that we've done in this app. So another thing that has gone on in this app is that little, if you remember the warning that we had on approvals, right? And so I'm going to select my form. Now, again, now with the new panel that slides out, in order to get to that panel, you need to select your SharePoint form, and then you can see that data link to change orders. This may be something that a few people during Ignite were also talking to me, that they were clicking on the form and they weren't able to see it, but it's just because you have to select SharePoint form. And so when you select SharePoint form, now you have access to all of those fields that are in there. I just want to let you know that. And like, for instance, I wanted to make description bigger to make it edit multi-line text. So I did that. The other thing that we have in this panel is the rules. So you'll notice there's 2 rules in this application. And if I open them up, you can see them. So basically, if that card, which is data card value 5, of course, I could rename it using my awesome Explorer panel over here, but I didn't bother. I just kind of took a note of what the name was. And then if it's approved, what I'm saying is that I want to set the display mode to view only. So that's the rule that says if this particular field is marked as approved, then I don't want them to be able to change it, right? And so really interesting that this would be a little bit complicated to do if you were to write a formula. But if you do it with the rules panel, it's not so hard. So first, let me show you how it works, and then I'll delete it and do it over with you, right? So here, if I go into here and I mark this approved, right, you notice that the display view is now, it's not editable, right? So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to go back. And I'm sorry, I already changed that field, but let me show you. I'm going to delete the rule. So actually, when you select the field, you can just hover over the rule and press delete, and that will say goodbye to the rule. Now this is data card value 5. I'm just going to press delete. And now leaving the field highlighted so that it knows that I'm talking about this field here, right? I'm going to click new rule. This eliminates me from having, I'm going to start by adding a condition, and I'm going to say when the condition is equal to approved, right? Now, I don't have to remember the data card value 5 number anymore, like I did when I wrote the formula up above. It tells me what the card number is. Yay! So I don't have to remember it or find it or anything. The other thing I have to do, though, if it's a complex field, I do have to indicate that path, because complex fields are kind of nested. So I have to go all the way down to the value, right? And in this case, I want to go ahead and say approved again, right? So all my condition is data card value 5, whatever they selected for that. If it is approved, then what we want to do is define an action. Now, here's the fun part. I'm going to go back to you, Medai. Here's the fun part. I'm going to click Define Actions. And here's where we go. We'll find what happens when the condition of the rules are applied. So I'm just going to click Let's Go. And now I can basically do anything I want to do. And it's going to kind of be similar to back in the days when we did macros, right? It's going to record what I do. So what I'm going to do is go over to the Properties panel and change the display mode to View. That's all I'm going to do. and then I'm going to press done. Okay, and now we've actually recreated that rule. All right, so I'm going to go back to SharePoint. So every time when you make changes, remember that for them to take on SharePoint, you're going to have to click that back to SharePoint button, and you're going to have to click save and publish. Otherwise, the people on SharePoint are not going to see what you did. Okay, and all we did is basically take out that and put it back. Right, so this one is approved, and so if we look at it, just give it a second to load. And I do notice somebody has reported that it says no item to display when it loads sometime, and that is a performance issue, and we are aware and we are working on it. What you'll notice in the first couple of weeks of rollout here is you may notice a little bit of latency, and you may notice a little bit of those ants rolling quite a bit. If you do, just be patient. We are actively working on making some adjustments to make this faster and easier to use. So at this point, the status is approved, and so it is not editable. I'm going to cancel out of this one and go to the one that is still pending and edit that one. And then let's check our rule. I'm going to change it from pending to approved, and you'll see that the status is now approved, and it's been changed so that I can't change it in the future. So using the rules method is actually way faster than using formulas if you're unfamiliar with formulas. I will give you a secret though. Sometimes I still use formulas just because I'm really comfortable with it. I'm still getting used to the rules without formulas. But those of you that are new to formulas, this is a godsend. You know, it just saves you so much time. So let's go back in and look at that again. Go back and kind of look back at our app again. And rules are pretty cool. If you notice what Ryan did, so we had a blog recently on the product blog site, and let me just show you that really quickly. If you go to PowerApps.com, and then you go to the blog, which I hope you do rather often, you'll see that about a week ago, Ryan posted an update on rules. And I love what Ryan did. If you look here at his GIF right here, what he actually did is he put a condition on this particular data card. And again, he had the same situation where he wanted to get this update. Now he used update. I could use update as well. And then he decided to change the color, but also to pull out some information. Let's see if I can. Pretty sure that's in here too. All right, and then so he changed the color at the top as well, so that when the form changed, and then he pulled this panel down, which was just a label collapsed, you know, with like 1 point height or something, and he pulled that down. And what he did by doing that was he said, okay, whenever this gets marked active, I want this whole page to change so that it kind of gives this really great feedback to my user. So I really love the way Ryan did that. You might want to check out the blog as well, because he talks a lot about the different things that he did here. And I like that he used the update property for this. It was a great idea to do that. But I just love how you just do all the things you want to do. But in this case, Ryan had to do some preparation, of course. He had to prepare that label at the top to have, you know, to be typed in and filled out. And then he collapsed the height of it so that when he did his, you know, actions, he was able to simply pull it down and show what was under there. I love this implementation, a really great idea. Go Ryan. So check out that blog when you have time. Let's see if we're back in our Power Apps. I want to skip this for a minute, and I'll talk about it in a second. And then I just want to go down here. A couple more things I want to show you on this. And this is one thing that I would say is a good idea. If you want to kind of edit from the state if you're doing state changes, right? And in this case, I've made a state change to status, which means it's set to approved right now. And because we made that rule that says, this one, rule 7, if it's approved, then make the display mode view. If you want to do an edit to a state that's different, then customize from that list item, because otherwise I can't. So at this moment, I would have to reverse kind of the action in order to edit against the status that's not approved. I could do a couple of things. I could turn off the rule. I could do a couple of things like that. But in this case, I'm just saying it's easiest if you want to edit in a state that's not approved, then go ahead and choose a list item and customize from that one. I find that helpful. And then the other one I wanted to show you, the other rule here, which is rule number 6. Rule number 6 that I have here. And right now, and this is coming soon, guys, I know you're going to want to rename your rules. I know you are. I bet you are. But not yet, right? We will be giving you the ability to rename your rules. So don't think that you're facing a bug when you can't rename a rule. It's because it's by design for now, but we will be adding that very soon. And remember that to delete a rule, right, you literally have to hover over the rule to see that little icon. I know my first time with this, I didn't notice the icon, so I didn't know how to delete. So I just want to point that one out to you. So let's go back into this one again. And notice if I click on the title, it pulls out the panel so that I can add new actions or remove actions that are there. Again, hovering will give me my little trash can, right? So right now it's showing data card 7. It's setting data card 7 to be true if the status is approval with comments. So I'm actually going to come out of here and go back to my team site because I want to show you what I meant by state. I'm going to pick up a state that is not approved so I can edit from there. And these little things I'm showing you because they were things I had to get used to. So I'm being really transparent on this and showing you how you can work with this really well. And so now that I'm in I actually did a customize from a list item that is not approved, I'm going to see the form in the not approved state. I'll just give this a second. The circle of hope is spinning, and we're going to wait for this to pop up. And here we are. And so now you'll see that my status, I'm going to skip. By the way, guys, in case you're wondering why we added this since I keep pressing skip. I don't click this, and I'll tell you why I don't click this. It's because I want to remind myself to tell you about it. You can add or remove fields in a form just by clicking this. So remember when I was saying to you that some people at Ignite were saying, I couldn't figure out how to get back to my list of fields. And so we predicted that might happen. People might not realize they have to select the form. So we're making this easy for you. You can just click this and it automatically pops out the panel. Kind of saves you that extra step. And so that's the purpose of that startup. Now, FYI on the startup situation, as far as that goes, that will be changing, and we're going to be incorporating a lot of contextual guidance directly into the product over time. So look forward to that. And please give us feedback into the ideas forum into what exactly you would like to have help with directly in the product. I know we work hard to get content out to the community, but what is it that you would like to see directly in the product? We want to know. So I am noticing that I'm still seeing approved here. So all I'm going to do is just take out this rule for now, or I can change it here. So if you click on a rule, I can either remove it or change it. I'm going to flip it just for the fun of it. You can kind of see how this behind the scenes formula works. And these are things that I will do. I will get into situations where I'm playing around with these formulas, and you actually learn quite a bit from doing that. Just going to see if we can save and get that to kick in. I'm going to save and bring it back because I just flipped that formula. Let's check. I know that it works because I've done it before. I'm going to, and this one I think I'm going to get rid of so I can see just what I have going on. And then I'm going to done that one. And let's see what we have now. So now we should be able to see our drop down because I don't have the display mode there. And so you can flip your formulas if you want to, or you can remove them like I did. And it's something that I do often to kind of make changes while I go. But sometimes I find it's easier. Come on, just delete it and start over because it's so easy to do. It's just so fast and easy. I can just delete it and start over sometimes. And then where was I going with that? Oh, I was going to show you the approval with comments. So we're going to do that one, right? So we're going to make a new rule. And we're going to call this rule is going to say if the approval, if this selection, and again, it tells you which field, but if it's complex, you'll do selected or you'll do, let's see if I can do update like, nope, I'm going to do selected value equals approval with comments. Approved with comments. You got to spell it right. Then my actions that I'm going to define here, and again, I can do whatever I want. I can like give this a red border because maybe I want people to pay close attention to this. I also want to make sure, let's give this a red background. And I also want to make sure that my any fields that I need here, let's go ahead and scroll down here and let's pull back in our panel here. So I'm going to highlight my form, pull back in my panel, make sure I'm going to change this so that it is only view. And let's see what happened. Yeah, display mode is view. And now, again, this is like this particular area here can only be, won't be able to be edited once I make it approval with comments, right? Right now, it just says approval. So if I hit done, and now you can see if it's approved with comments, the field is going to be that red color I selected, and it goes and translated for me. And it's going to make the display mode view only. So if we try that out, I change this to approve with comments. Now the background is red and I can no longer change it. So I kind of really like working with the rules. Try working with them. You can also use formulas. We're not taking any formulas away. But what I think rules are awesome for is writing your formulas for you. And this is in response to feedback. Let's try and do some less writing formulas and more just automatically putting those formulas in for us. And that's what this is about. So I want to go and check. I know there's a comment coming in. So Stacy said, you apply that to the entire form. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't watch it fast enough, Stacy. So you apply that to the entire form. So I think you were probably talking about what Ryan did, right? Using the update, right? Is that what you're talking about? Just confirm with me that what you're talking about, and then I'll make sure I answer you. So I know that's kind of ugly, but I just wanted to hurry up and do something quickly. Normally, I will plan my color palettes out, and I will only use the colors that I plan in advance. And you're going to see the end of this app within 2 webinars because we're going to keep on building on it. Does everyone know how to already wire up their their list to Power BI? Let me know if you've ever done that. You just, adding your list to Power BI, and then you create a little visualization. And then I think you've all seen the demo of how to add the Power BI tile. While you're typing whether or not you know how to wire this up to a list, I'll just show this again for those that may not have seen it, because this is a relatively new feature as well. It's under the controls, and it's the very last control, Power BI. And you size this. Now, here's the heads up I'll give you. When you're sizing your tiles in Power BI, keep in mind the size of space you plan to use in Power Apps. That way, your tiles will be an appropriate size for your app. So in this case, I've already planned a small tile here, and it's on the video planning dashboard, and its name is Cost Impacts. And that's how easy it is to add the tile. The challenge, I was wondering if you knew, is how to wire up your Power BI to SharePoint. Can you make the whole form read-only? Yes, I believe you can. Let's do that together. So I'm going to highlight this. I'm sorry, I'm going to highlight the status. Let's use this as our prompter. And let's say new rule. Do I have a denied? Let's see if I have a denied in my list. You got to remember what's in your SharePoint list too. I clicked on that by accident. So it's a change order list. And then let's see, I'm going to look at my field for status. I believe I have denied in there. If we do, we can use that. Yeah, I have denied, D-E-N-I-E-D. So what I'm going to do here is make the condition equal to denied. And then go ahead and do selected value equals denied. There's my condition. And so you want the whole form to be read-only. Let's give it a try. Haven't tried it, but let's give it a try together. I'm going to select the form. And over here in the default mode, I'm going to change it to view. And then hit done. And then let's run this. So right now, I'm going to change this to denied. And I don't need this. So I'm sorry, I didn't click on the right thing. Denied. Okay. So you know what? I'm going to roll back with you on that because for some reason I'm not able to select denied. So I'll roll back to you on that question, Stacy. Just make sure you remind me, just post on the forum question about setting the whole form to read only. I believe it's possible. I'm just having a little problem with my drop down here. It's not letting me select denied. So because of that, we will come back to that on that. Maybe if I remove that other rule to get it out of the way, maybe that's what's going on. Let's take this rule out. Let's click here and see how many rules we have real quick. And I don't see any. I don't see any for that. I don't see any for this. I just want to try one more time. So new rule, add condition is equal to denied. And then I'm going to do selected and value. That's the only rule we have right now. And define that the form itself, which I'm going to select the form, is only viewable. So you can see the steps, and then I say done. All right. Let's run that again and see if we can select denied. You might have run into a little bit of a issue. Yeah, we've run into a little issue where I think what's happening is that since this is already approved, maybe that's what's going on, but this might be an issue I need to report. But in the meantime, Stacey, I promise to roll back to you because yes, you should be able to do that. That should not be a problem. Let's try and change the rule to approved and see, since we can only change it to approved, let's do that. So I'm going to go back to my, well, we'll roll back to that, Stacy. So sorry, I can't show you this, but I'll roll back to it and show you exactly how to do that because yes, it should be possible. we can always, anything that we can see in the UI that we can set should be picked up by that recorder when we're recording what needs to happen. Okay. Stacy, is that okay? Just roll back, put it on the form for me, and I will make sure that I answer that today for you. Okay. Let's see what else I wanted to show you. I think the other thing I wanted to show you here, I think we already did it. So basically, you have quite a few options here as far as how you customize your forms. The key things to remember are these three things, and this is the things I try to tell everybody. One, now that we've added the roll-in panel, you need to select your forms and go to properties to get your data, to get your ability to change the data, change the snap to columns, change the layout, which they also have that here separately, although it brings out the very same panel. And then on the bottom is where you get all your fields. So just remember that. And we added that splash screen in the front. For those that might miss this, they could go ahead and click on that and it'll bring out the wizard for you. The other thing you want to remember when you're working with rules is that to delete rules, you have to hover over the rule name. To open a rule, you would just click on the rule itself. To define new actions, you can just keep adding, and you can subtract rules. You can also click on rules in order to revise those rules in the formula bar. So you have lots of actions on how you work with the rules. Now, this does not mean that rules in PowerApps works like rules in InfoPath, because rules in InfoPath actually are declarative, and you might want to set a field value. In that case, you would still need to use your variables as you have been using to update context variables and refer to those context variables in the appropriate fields. And if you want me to do a webinar on how to set fields using rules and context variables, I'll be glad to do that. The other thing I wanted to point out about rules, and I think I already mentioned it, is although you can delete them, you actually can't rename them yet, but we will be working to give you that. Anything you can see in the UI when you're defining actions can be used, such as the way Ryan expanded the height of that label control. You can expand the width or the height of something or change its XY position. This gives you an opportunity to create animations in your application because you can define actions that move things around. So think of these things when you're starting to work with these forms. Again, I want to say we're in that first release mode, you know, where we've just letting this out. It's going to head out to all the different tenants, and you're going to start seeing this in your environment. Start playing with it. Post on the forum your ideas, your feedback. Let us know what you're thinking. We are going to be improving this in leaps and bounds over the next few months and iterations. You'll notice that rules is got experimental next to it. And that's experimental means we want to hear what results you get from using it, because you're the lab technician that's experimenting with this. And based on the feedback we get from you, we are ready to change it and make it better for you. So please give us feedback. Go to the forums, email audrey@microsoft.com, whichever way is most comfortable for you to give us feedback, and we will get this working just the way you need it. I am mega impressed about what it does right now, but I can see the potential for so much coming in the near future. So does anyone have any questions before we kind of close out? If you don't have any questions, then we're going to end the session. And I'm going to say this is cool for today. This is like a part 2 focused on customizing forms using the new customized forms feature on SharePoint. And the integration there on SharePoint is phenomenal already. And it will be expanding as we continue to work with this product, as we continue to work in rules in an experimental phase. What we want to do is make this form design so much easier for you to give your users a rich experience. So please reach out, post your ideas in the forum, post your questions in the community forum as well. And one more thing I wanted to share with you. Wes Preston and Kathy Dew did an awesome presentation. Let me just show you that URL. So I'm just going to share this real quick just to go back, because I don't want you to forget to go watch this presentation. So you see this second, the second link there. It's Wes and Kathy's presentation from Ignite, and their presentation was off the hook. It was awesome. If you have time, go watch their presentation. They go through a couple of really great scenarios that are typical to InfoPath design, but actually they kick it up so many notches, things that were never possible in InfoPath, they show you how to do. And I think that's a 45-minute to an hour presentation from Ignite. So go and watch that. It is so awesome. Have a great day. I continue to give me feedback, and we'll be updating docs as well to include this content. And I look forward to talking to you about this in the near future. And you guys have a great day.